What's up? It's Patrick back with the Chronicles of Running My Mouth on the Internet. I think there's a lot of people talking about the upside and showing you all the data of how things are going to go up in Pokemon forever. I am a believer in Pokemon. I'm a believer in the IP. I'm a believer in the cards, but I am also a macroeconomics nerd. And I think that people are trying to disassociate Pokemon from everything else that's going on in the world. And I think there needs to be a conversation around it. First of all, I have some notes today. I usually don't have any notes, but I wanted to try and organize my thoughts because there is a lot of areas that people will try to pick apart, and I'm just trying to broaden your horizons. The biggest risk I see right now in the Pokemon market is this overall kind of echo chamber. Echo chambers exist everywhere. An echo chamber is just you getting fed the information you want to hear. So if you want to believe that your Pokemon collection is going to go up in value, then you're going to be fed the content that is people saying the Pokemon market will go up in value. So good news today is I will be getting into the upside as well. So I'm going to cover the risks. I'm going to cover the upside, and then I'm going to cover my thoughts, which I think are somewhere in the middle, realistically. Okay. First of all, biggest thing that needs to happen is that everything is speculative right now. So Pokemon cards used to, I guess, exist as a very basic supply and demand. As more people bought things, the price went up. I'm not going to dispute that it still exists as supply and demand, right? There's a lot to be said there that obviously the cards aren't going up in value for no reason. I'm not stupid, not in that way anyways. The price of things are going up though because people are thinking that not only can they sell them in the future, which is one thing, but they can sell them, next month for a big profit because they've been shown that that's the case for the last 6 months or 8 months or so, that everything you buy just goes up in value. So you just buy the expensive card goes up in value, you sell expensive card, you're laughing all the way to the bank. You feel like a real good businessman or woman, and that's that. Unfortunately, not realistic. I think we're getting into the stock market mania phase here. And I unfortunately have to treat Pokemon as a stock market now, since you see things like the 151 Charizard, namely, which is, it's a fine card, okay, but it's not all that special. In my opinion, okay, I don't think it's that special of a card. I think there are dozens of better Charizards that exist. I think that the Blastoise and the Venusaur from the same set are better. And I prefer Charizard over Blastoise and Venusaur, okay? So I'm not just saying that by them being a favorite or something. Regardless, the speculation's getting out of control. People are just buying things because it's going to go up in value. So less to do with the fact that they actually want that card and more to do with the fact that they're worried about the money that's involved with it in the future. At the same time, scalping is still a problem. You could argue not to the same extent that it has been, but still absolutely a problem. And I think that the people who are scalping are not financially intelligent. If you're a scalper, come fight me on that. I don't care. You, chances are not financially that intelligent. Reason being is that you are trying to make a quick buck. And while you can make a quick buck here and there, usually, time and time again in history, people try to make a quick buck will get burnt. Maybe you're the exception, but generally speaking, I would strongly recommend you stay away from scalping, even if it's tempting. Just get a job, okay? The job will treat you better over time than scalping will. There is a war, okay? The war that is happening, despite Mr. Donny J's best efforts, is not going away, nor will it go away in the near future, okay? As soon as a president has to say this war is going to be over in no time, by next week we'll be singing Kumbaya around the campfire, that's the telltale sign that it is not going away, all right? This bad boy is here to stay. I am not a politician. I don't have any inside war knowledge, but there is no way that a country of 90 million that you've just killed two of their leaders is just going to roll over and be like, you got us, like it's just not going to happen. So I think it's going to be ugly. I think the implications of this war are far bigger than people realize. And I think that Pokemon is not exempt from this being the case. Okay. So oil is a big deal. All right. Newsflash. I think most people hopefully knew that. But when you lose 20% of your world's oil supply, the price of things will go up. They have already gone up at this point in time, right? They've gone up in price. Oil prices have, and that impacts everything. Your food becomes more expensive. Traveling becomes more expensive. Your Pokemon cards become more expensive to manufacture. This is no good. The food, whatever, but Pokemon cards going up in value, now that's a problem. So the manufacturing cost will go up. And I think this is partially good news in some sense, because the Pokemon company will need to charge more to get their same margins that they're looking to get. Potentially could really hurt the scalpers in the short term should this war carry on. It definitely would be no good for the scalpers, which, I'm super devastated about that. Okay, moving on. Oil, it will affect everything. It will continue to be a problem, but this also means that people are going to get pinched. So when oil goes up, the prices of things go up. People can afford a lot less, and then you get into trouble of people losing their jobs, right? Like companies, when things become more expensive, they have to charge more money. And if the customer won't pay more money for whatever that item is, then people will lose jobs. So the Pokemon market is not a lot of people who are only Pokemon sellers. Like there are people who do Pokemon full time. The majority of the hobby is people who are doing something else and they collect Pokemon, whether it be for sheerly entertainment, whether it be as an investment, or whether it's, somewhere in the middle, like myself. I see it completely in the middle. I love the cards. I love the sealed product. I love everything about Pokemon TCG. And the fact that I can make money off of it long term is just an upside benefit. So I do believe people will understate this, that oil doubling in price in like 3 months, like it very well could, will hurt the economy. And the economy is not separate from Pokemon. Okay. So you will notice that there will be some implications. There's going to be a lot of holders of Pokemon who may have to sell their collections, and they may need to sell it in a hurry. And then the price comes down. Okay. And now talking backwards from where we started at, things are entirely speculative. So people are buying the 151 Charizard because they think 151 Charizard will go up in value. And they've only ever seen it go up in value. And this is my point, is that the moment their game plan of making money fails, they're just in it for the money. So now they're going to quickly go, oh shoot, I better sell my long neck Zard and get into the next thing. And that will have short-term implications on the market. So am I selling my Pokemon cards? Well, yeah. I have a Pokemon card business, shamangames.ca. Buy my stuff. I'll give you a sweet deal if you ask for it in the comments, or send me a message, whatever. Am I selling my sealed collection? No. I'm holding on to some stuff. I have my vault, I call it, which is just cards I refuse to sell because they're too cheap. So ultimately, I'm not a bear. I'm not saying that Pokemon's cooked and that the market's going to go away, but there will be short-term implications, and they will be potentially more severe than people would lead you to believe. You have to be careful of what people's biases are. Like I, of course, have the bias that I want you to buy my Pokemon cards. So like I should be telling you that Pokemon go up forever, and that specifically the 1,000 cards I have on my website are actually like the best cards ever, and that those ones are all going to go to the moon. So buy those ones. But I'm not really trying to do that. The other, there's a lot of people in the market who are on YouTube who maybe they have underlying interests, maybe they don't, whatever. Maybe I'm just a hater. Doesn't matter. I think it's important that you take information with a grain of salt, and that you try to hold some extra cash on the sidelines a little bit. In Canada, in the US, there's a TFSA in Canada. It's a 401k. In the US, it gets hate, from whatever. Pokemon people are like, yeah, just buy Pokemon go up. Those things are good because they may not perform as well as Pokemon, but if there is a market downturn, you can pull out your money tax-free and maybe buy some more Pokemon cards. So you should consider those things, not a financial advisor, if you only are in Pokemon. Like if all your eggs are in the proverbial Pokemon basket, I warn you that you should probably get some other assets, even if they're not as exciting, right? Pokemon's way cooler than the S&P 500. I get that. Also, the S&P 500 is going absolutely ballistic, but that's beside the point. Okay, now, why we came here. I don't know why I'll get the handle, make sure I don't get carried away in my stationary automobile here. I think that the upside discussion needs to be discussed as well, because simultaneously, I'm not ignorant to the fact that Pokemon's come out with a great new game, Poketopia. I don't know if that's how you say it. I'm like the worst ever at pronouncing shit. So I apologize for that. But Poketopia is coming out. It's hugely popular right out of the gate, which is amazing to see. I think it's going to have huge long-term implications. It's the type of game that kids will get into, and it pulls potentially a different audience than what you'd historically see for Pokemon games. So I think it's a wonderful addition to the Pokemon IP. At the same time, they're bringing back some old games. I think there'll be some, people reminiscing and maybe moving into Pokemon cards with that interest. And then at the same time, I can see older Pokemon potentially seeing a bit of a surge. So like whatever it be, vintage or more semi-modern, I guess mid-era, whatever you want to call it, Black and White, Sun and Moon, XY era stuff, could definitely see some movement because ultimately if things are more expensive and more volatile in the newer neck of the woods, that big money, as much as people are going to say big money likes volatility, we are humans. Big money, they're also humans. They don't like to see the number go down, right? People just do not like to see the number go down. So even if it's like, I know a few millionaire businessmen who will, do businesses and they'll have a venture where they get upset that they've lost whatever, $1,000. Like they have $1 million net worth, but their new venture, they need it to make money. They don't like to see the number go down. I know that seems somewhat unrelated, but I think this idea that the big wealthy people are going to see their Pokemon stuff tank and just go, it's fine, I have all this money. That's realistically how they should react, right? That would be the intelligent way to react. But we know from history that the way that people react isn't necessarily always intelligent, even people with money. So keep that in mind. I think that if the modern stuff becomes more volatile, that people are going to shift their money into older stuff because they're going to view it as more safe. You know for a fact there's no more printing coming from it. You're not just speculating that there's no more printing. You know for a fact that they're not printing Sun and Moon, Black and White, Sword and Shield, whatever. So I can definitely see big money moving into that. Again, this is all just my opinion. I'm just spitballing here. Maybe Pokemon 10X's next month and I just sound like an idiot, but I think that it's important to get both sides of the picture rather than just hearing the same thing of Pokemon go up. Next one is that I obviously see big buyers coming into the hobby. We know there's people that aren't necessarily interested in Pokemon. This is seen entirely as a good thing. I think it is a good thing in some sense, but it also means that you have to keep in mind, like I just said, you have people that are, they're wealthy, so therefore they're okay with volatility. They still can be inclined to sell. They can still get bored, right? So if Pokemon's stagnant for whatever, a year, and it just isn't exciting anymore, they might, go put their money somewhere else. Like that's the reality. They might, do the next cool thing. So I think you have to remember that people need to be passionate about Pokemon for them to realistically hold it long term. Like people who are in it for the money are going to be in it for a quick flip. They're going to see their 151 go up in value, and like literally my marketplace is absolutely blowing up right now with people trying to take some gains on their 151. Like, good for you, no problem. But then you go on YouTube and people are saying nobody's selling their 151, everybody's buying more 151. It's okay, well, that's not exactly what my information's telling me. Regardless, there's one underlying fact: the rich will get richer. Doesn't matter whether you're buying stocks, it doesn't matter whether you're buying crypto, it doesn't matter whether you're buying Pokemon cards or freaking Digimon. Where the money goes will get more valuable at the end of the day. So if you are looking at this in a long-term horizon, you're looking at this as a 5-year play, or at least as a sort of 3-year play, you're more than likely going to do great. Don't panic if things start to move down. I suspect there will be a time when things start to move down, and it might not be for 6 months or it might not be for a year. I don't know. We could just keep moving in the upward direction as people get continuously more and more excited about number go up on screen from their TCG player data. And at the end of the day, I'm just a guy on the internet. So take this as you will, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Lots of love. This has been Patrick, and still is.